This is the Late Showgram podcast with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio app.
Have you seen Junior's grades?
I hope you know that this will go down on your permanent record.
You better pay attention, build your comprehension. There's gonna be a quiz of your ascension.
All right, guy, you get the idea. Songs. It's back to school day
In the morning and out to school.
in most parts of the country.
Teaching the golden rule.
So if you're on the roads, make sure that you keep your eyes open for kids. I think that's probably, short term, that's the big thing today. I think the big message today, on top of all of the anxieties that parents have about whether or not kids are going back to school and their life is going to be normal again and their kids' lives are going to be normal again, all of that kind of stuff, hopefully it will play out perfectly in all areas of the country where the Delta variant has reared its head in many different ways. It is a big part of the concerns for you and your kids. So be listening this morning to this very radio station for all of the details on back to school wherever you might be. I was reading today on social media, and one of a conservative pundit was suggesting that the liberals are kind of like playing into all of this stuff. You'll know that Justin Trudeau, and we'll play the report in a couple of seconds' time, but Justin Trudeau has been met by protesters. Some people think that it is a little different than times where his dad out west was met with protesters, or in Ontario, any number of different politicians have been met with protesters, whether it's Rob Ford or Mike Harris or Doug Ford. I think it is a little bit. There were reporters today with allegations that they were threatened with sexual assault. And of course, it's the 1 + 1 = 3 crowd telling the media that they're lying about the pandemic. You might think the media is biased one way or another, but lying about the pandemic is, again, I think, the epicenter of this kind of quicksand of stupid that we get into when you try to argue with one of these people. But today, Justin Trudeau was pelted with some gravel. The original reports were like rocks were thrown at him. That kind of sounds like it's like a baseball size, but this was just a handful of gravel. That was the audio of the gravel. I don't know if you can tell any difference. Here's a different clip, but it sounds the same. Hold on, I played the wrong clip of the gravel. This is the gravel clip. I think you might have been able to hear it there. Let me play it one more time. Right there, a handful of gravel. So it's getting really ugly. But this one conservative, not People's Party of Canada conservative, not Maxime Bernier conservative, because it looks like it's mostly these protesters are People's Party of Canada conservatives. And it looks like one analyst was saying the Liberal government is loving this. The Liberal Party is loving this because it's 80% of people in this country are okay with vaccine passports. And if he's seen as the guy who's fighting for this in the face of, hey, why did this guy even call for an election? And now he has made it into him versus this angry crowd, that it could benefit him and backfire on O'Toole. Here's Glenn McGregor.
The anti-vaccination protests that have dogged Justin Trudeau's campaign stops tonight turned violent. Protesters threw gravel at the Liberal leader as he boarded his bus leaving an event at a brewery in London, Ontario. Some of those in the angry crowd carrying People's Party of Canada signs. Earlier in the day, Trudeau denounced what he said were racist and misogynistic taunts hurled at supporters.
Those voices, those special interest groups, those protesters who can, I don't even want to call them protesters, those anti-vaxxer mobs to dictate how this country gets through this pandemic.
The Conservative leader this morning called for a less divisive approach to those with concerns about vaccination. Aaron O'Toole defended his policy to allow alternative measures for Conservative candidates who don't want to get their shots.
It's about having an approach of respect and trying to work with people to overcome any concerns about vaccinations, or also make sure that they work to use daily rapid testing, masking, distancing to fight COVID-19.
The policy for candidates is in contrast to requirements for staff and journalists traveling on the Conservative campaign. They must provide proof of full vaccination and perform rapid tests every morning. O'Toole will not say how many of his candidates have been immunized. The Liberals say theirs, save for one with a medical exemption, have now all been fully vaccinated.
What a pleasure to be here today.
And the Conservative leader questioned why Justin Trudeau took his campaign to a Toronto hospital campus.
It was troubling to see Mr. Trudeau holding events in a hospital yesterday in a pandemic election that he called completely disconnected from the needs of Canadians.
Trudeau says all the hospital safety protocols were followed.
We're not going to put anyone at risk, but we needed those healthcare workers there and across the country to know that we stand with them.
The increasingly hostile scenes on the campaign trail come as COVID cases in Canada continue to climb, and Liberals try to link O'Toole to anti-vaccination sentiments.
Not only are they disrupting Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, they can't get their message out, they are also making it problematic for Aaron O'Toole because he has not been in favor of any kind of forced vaccination.
After leaving that event in London, Ontario tonight, Justin Trudeau told reporters that he may have been hit on the shoulder by a little bit of gravel thrown by the protesters, but he was unhurt. Glenn McGregor, CTV News.
Thank
Ottawa.
you. Again, just so dramatic. And I'm not saying that these protests aren't something that they shouldn't be concerned about in terms of security, but I would agree with a Conservative analyst who suggests that now the Liberals are playing into this and clearly trying to use it to their advantage, and Trudeau acting as if, oh yeah, no, we had to have this election to fight off those people is absolutely ridiculous. So using those protests to their advantage. I'm not sure if that's resonating with anybody. Right now, the polls look like a statistical tie within the margin of error. I think the Conservatives lead with something like 34, and the Liberals have 33. So it is quite tight still. Meanwhile, one of the things, if you want to find somebody who rails against unions and all this kind of stuff, it'd be great to see them, wherever they'd work, talk about taking away everything that effort has got all of us in this country, where we work, the laws that defend us and mean that we have all of these rights as workers, because without that union, and I'm for the longest time I wasn't a huge union fan, but now when you see some of these workplaces, it's heartbreaking to see the way the economy has gone. And a lot of these people have nobody to advocate for them. But there were plenty of rallies around the country.
The last long weekend of the summer and the tradition returns. Labor rallies popping up in different cities.
Bonjour tout le monde. Happy Labor Day.
No coincidence that the three main party leaders marked the day with promises of better wages and more benefits for workers.
And I want you to have more money to tackle the rising cost of living.
Moving forward with better wages.
The Liberals and the NDP are proposing 10 days of paid sick leave for workers in federally regulated industries, with Jagmeet Singh promising to hike minimum wage to $20 an hour, while a Conservative government would double the Canada Workers' Benefit.
Come on around.
With 2 weeks left, polls are showing Liberals closing in on the Conservatives' lead, with Justin Trudeau exploiting Aaron O'Toole's flip-flop on assault weapons.
Yesterday, Aaron O'Toole was asked if he had a secret deal with the gun lobby. Yes or no? He wouldn't answer.
He has put Aaron O'Toole on the defensive, at least for now, and that it seems has stopped the bleeding for the Liberals in the polls. But will it be enough to actually reverse the tendency?
But it was enough for the Conservatives to amend their position on firearms. The Conservative platform says the party would repeal Trudeau's ban on assault-style weapons and review it. But today, a footnote added to the platform reads, all firearms that are currently banned will remain banned.
What I committed to is keeping everything in place now.
Another wedge issue in a race with surprising twists and turns. 3 weeks in, and according to polls, both Liberals and Conservatives could form a minority government. A pandemic campaign with smaller crowds, mostly outdoor gatherings, no huge rallies, except those organized by Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada.
To fight for our freedoms.
Hundreds of unmasked anti-vaccination supporters gathered today, a total contrast to the more low-key campaign of the Green Party leader, who is remaining in her Toronto riding.
2 weeks left before Canadians go to the polls, and according to the Liberal campaign, people will now start paying attention to the race, and this will be a determining week.
So, I'm one of these people who don't believe that the guns that are called assault rifles, or military style, if you will, they aren't necessarily, I know you're going to email me, you're going to write me and saying they're not military guns. I get it. But like an AR-15, you don't need that for hunting. But, legitimate hunters and farmers, those people should still have access to their firearms. Most of the crimes that are being executed with guns in cities in this country, those are handguns, and nobody's talked about them. I'm not saying they should, but it's just a whole bunch of hot air about something that isn't necessarily an issue. When you're talking about the actual crime, you're talking around it, and you're not addressing it. I'm Jim Richards. This is the Nighttime Friendly.
You're listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
I love this story of a guy who just goes to the subway platform in New York City. He takes a little table, almost like a bistro setup, 2 chairs and a table, and he says, date while you wait. It's not really a date, it's just conversations with strangers and connections that he has made. Really a human, a great job to make connections, especially in COVID. So we're going to talk to him a little bit later on, and our friend Vinny White, who's going to be our British correspondent, will talk to us about a interesting thing that he stole. I was like, you stole somebody's phone? And then I was like, okay, that's a good reason to steal somebody's phone. What is a good reason to steal? Is there ever a good reason to steal somebody's phone? Find out why I was convinced that there might be a good reason to steal somebody's phone coming up. So we were just talking about Afghanistan. Were we just talking about Afghanistan? Was that the last story I did? I forget. Tony, were you even paying? Do you know, Tony? I think, yeah, we were just talking about Afghanistan. And here, one of the retired major generals, Dennis Thompson, talks about the need and the... hold on, did I play this?
In Panjshir, the last province not already under its control.
Yes. Okay. Listen, I'm the one who should know what's going on around here. Apparently I don't. Here is one of the retired generals talking about that airport and how it is going to be used over the next little while.
Well, it is true that the airport isn't going to be open for commercial flights for weeks, if not months. And so the advice is to remain sheltering in place, although if they wish to make their way to the border on their own volition, they can do so. And we have been successful of late getting some of these folks over the border and into Canadian official hands. The issue becomes, of course, there are 9,700 people that are still in the country, Afghans and Canadian citizens that need to be moved out. And the paperwork is still somewhat slow, and we're working. I know the government's working hard on it. There are at least 6,000 that are in the process of having their applications looked at. So we need to get that done first to open it up.
Slow but promising, I guess, and it's been weeks now that these families are still in hiding. How is the veterans group reassuring the families?
Well, we very fortunately had one of the handlers of the safe houses in Kabul make his way out of one of the last flights of Afghanistan and make his way to Canada. And he's now able to reassure the families directly, because they know him personally, to phone them and to tell them that we've got their back and we're going to do our damnedest to get them out of the country in as safe a fashion as possible.
That is a phone call I'm sure they all want to hear. General Thompson, as always, we appreciate your time tonight.
And thank you for keeping this issue in the spotlight, Lisa.
It's really amazing that these Canadian generals who have not been in contact with some of those people, in many cases, for up to 10 years, that might not be true. They may have been in contact with a lot of these people over the course of the last 10 years. Keep in mind that we officially withdrew in 2011. We remained there until 2014 in a training capacity. But you're talking about generals and soldiers who've kept in contact with these people. And that relationship, that contact, is very important. And that's why they feel so strongly in the failure of our government to get them out when we needed to. Now, the government will say, well, you know what, we've got more people out than any other country other than the United States. But still, I think it's fair to say that that we failed these people. But when you hear that general there still talk so passionately about not wanting to leave anybody behind, I think that's a real testament to the kind of people, the men and women who serve our country in the military. And it's a really, 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 I think, important thing to see. All right, let's talk a little bit here about the passing of Michael K. Williams. Again, Michael K. Williams, for a lot of people, you might not know who the hell Michael K. Williams is. Michael K. Williams is, and I think, Tony, I sent you a clip. Michael K. Williams is a guy who I guess has struggled with a drug addiction for a while, mostly clean. But he's also a guy who was a really important part of one of the best TV shows of all time. He was Omar in The Wire. And it was a really powerful, powerful man. If you haven't seen this series, 5 seasons playing Omar on HBO. And tonight, fans, actors, celebrities on social media giving condolences to the former star of The Wire. He was 54 years of age, and police found him in his apartment. He was also in Boardwalk Empire, Lovecraft Country, if you've seen that recently, Assassin's Creed, and 12 Years a Slave. And Twitter, again, an outpouring of just heartbreaking messages. Some of his former colleagues reached out and talked about how they felt about him. And he was well loved in many cases. I don't know if you guys ever have met somebody who is an addict. Criminalizing them doesn't really help. And what he had been working on recently was a documentary to try to help people who get out of prison who have had the same sort of maybe path and struggle with addictions that he might have, try to find their way in the world and make sure that they don't fall back into those same kind of hard life decisions when you're kind of pigeonholed and you don't see any other way, but perhaps to return to your default setting of using, because that's the one thing in this world when you don't find anything else and you're not positive and you get depressed that you would turn on and rely on. Dave Simon, who's the creator of The Wire, he initially chose not to share any words on Twitter and just put a picture of Mr. Williams out on Twitter. And then he said, I'm too gutted right now to say anything. And I think a lot of people felt that way. That's the first time I ever saw Idris Elba. He was on that show as well, but nobody was more powerful than Omar. Omar was a killer, but he was like a Robin Hood kind of killer because he would rob from the drug dealers and he would give back to the community. And people would always hear that he was coming because he would whistle that trademark, the farmer in the dell. And he had one, not a catchphrase, but he was famous for one thing that he said, which was, and maybe this is true in every kind of life, man had to live by a code. But here's what he talked about recently in a talk show when he was talking about his struggles with addiction.
With Wood, we see a perfect example of that. A lot of people often think that when a person puts down the drug or the alcohol, that all the problems go away. That couldn't be further from the truth. Drugs and alcohol are not the problems. They're merely symptoms of the problem. And once those things go away, the real work begins. Working on all the character defects, the moral compass, the skewed moral compass. Those are things that need to be addressed. Those are the reasons why we got high in the first place, and our inability to deal with life on life's terms.
Yeah.
So, for me, for instance, when The Wire was coming to an end, I had no legs to stand on. I had stopped doing the work on myself. The shutting down the inner critic in my head, and I went from being a shy, dark-skinned kid in the hood who was corny to all of a sudden, everyone is just, yo, man, I love you. Right. And I was like, the only small problem was they were calling me Omar and not Michael. And I was like, yeah, Omar, Michael, who gives a damn? It's the name, right? And that was the beginnings of me losing myself, losing my identity, and in my work, and that came back to haunt me drastically toward the end. I had no legs to stand on when that show ended, because I was forced to go back and look in the mirror, and that was who wants to do that, right?
You have to go back to the mirror and ask yourself who you are. Michael, it's so interesting. You have this pivotal moment that happened in your life.
Please, thank you. A clip from a TV show where Omar addressed his past addiction use. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, he was recently working on a documentary to help smooth the transition for former convicts making it back into the real world. And of course, the entertainment world, mourning the loss of Michael K. Williams, best known as Omar from Wire. I'm Jim Richards.
You're listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
It's Labor Day in New York City as well, and that's where, yesterday was Labor Day, to be technical, and that's where David Cooper is joining us from Labor Day, LABOR. Up here, we're enjoying Labor Day, did I say L-O-B? L-A-B-O-U-R. And he is, you're enjoying big differences other side of the border with the L-A-B-O-R?
What are we celebrating really? Just like a holiday back when workers had rights and now they just make nothing? I don't what are we really celebrating? It's just a day off. I've never celebrated other than just having the day off. Does it mean something to you?
Certainly there are things to celebrate. All the people who came before us who fought for all the rights that we have now to have a 5-day work week and all that kind of stuff, and maybe have benefits or any number of different things. I think there are things to mark. A lot of people probably lost their jobs along the way to have the protections that we have now, no?
No, I'm not fine, Jim. I get it. It's important. I just mean personally.
Why are you treating me like I'm being a smarty pants, splitting hairs because I made a point about Labor Day? What are you saying?
I'm the lefty one, Jim. I'm the one who cares a lot about these things. I just think in the United States, especially, it's in the last 50 years, progressively stripping away rights, not raising minimum wage. What are we really celebrating here?
Yeah, well,
but I agree that
you're looking at people who work at Amazon who can't afford to, do any number of different things. But wait a second. I think the listeners think I'm a lefty as well.
Compared to me, you're a righty, but I don't know how you vote. I mailed my ballot, Jim. I'm a voter. I'm a proud voter of Rosedale University riding in Toronto.
Will you tell us how you voted? Did you vote NDP here?
Very well, thank you. Did I vote NDP? I may well have.
With an X.
I might not have, though. I might have spoiled my ballot and just wrote my own name on it. Who knows? I have that right in a democracy. You have the right to spoil your ballot, and that is an enshrined right in democracy. Jim, what else is going on? You saw some people having sex in a car. You weren't as excited.
They weren't in a car. They were outside of the car.
Oh, okay.
I would have, I would have done the same thing. I would have been like Scram. but most of the text board wanted to have me finish them. What? Yeah, no, that's one of the big things that happened to me over the weekend. But I did a lot of stuff, but none of it was super exciting, although I did write some things down. I could go through my notes if you'd like, but what did you do?
No, I wrote some things down too. I finished my website, Jim. My website for my radio stuff was broken and it was bothering me. And so I took the weekend to build a website. I'm very proud of it. It is bad, but it is a great domain name. It is www.jew.pizza. That is my website. I was
going to say, yeah, I love that name. And you're not even Jewish.
I am.
And you hate pizza.
I love pizza. Jim, I'm here. I'm here to talk about a few things. And coming up in about 10 minutes, our dear friend Natasha Vinnick is going to come. And I'm so prepared. I'm so ready. I hit 2 years sober next Wednesday, Jim. 2 years since I had my last drink other than non-alcoholic beer.
When you say next Wednesday, do you mean this coming Wednesday?
Yeah, I was it next Wednesday? What does that even mean? People say next this.
I don't know. Isn't next Wednesday the Wednesday after this Wednesday?
No, it's this coming Wednesday. This tomorrow.
No, it's not. Tony, can you break this tie? Next Wednesday is the Wednesday after this coming Wednesday, because you would just say this Wednesday.
Next Wednesday is next Wednesday, as in not this coming Wednesday. This coming Wednesday is just Wednesday. It's just Wednesday. It's just Wednesday.
You're saying that it's the next...
We need to know. Next Wednesday is next week.
I would say a week Wednesday in that case. I'd say a week Wednesday. That way, you're on Wednesday plus a week.
You're wrong.
Wednesday.
You don't even know how the days will work. What comes after Wednesday? Do you even know the calendar? Do the calendar for me.
This is an important debate. We have struck gold with it. We were just shooting.
Let's go to the phones. 1-889. I'm serious. 1-855-633-1010. What is the date on that Wednesday? Is it the 9th? Is that the 9th?
9th is this Wednesday. Is the 9th.
This Wednesday is also next Wednesday.
No, it's not. No, there's a difference between it being the next Wednesday and next Wednesday. There's a difference between that. 1-855-633-1010. Are you Team Jim or Team David on next Wednesday means not this Wednesday? That would be the 15th. Is anybody looking at a calendar? I think that would be the 15th, next Wednesday. But 2 years sober is happening this Wednesday, is what you're saying.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
No! Do it
next coming up Wednesday.
Do it right. Do it right. Tony, join my chant. Do it right. Do it right.
You know what?
This Wednesday.
Right.
If I'm the last person on the planet making these claims, you wouldn't convince me. I'm steadfast. This is what I believe, and I choose to believe it, and that's another part of democracy.
I wonder how many meetings you've messed up when you were working in Silicon Valley, when you called for a meeting next Wednesday, and everybody showed up. Nobody showed up.
On Wednesday, next Wednesday, they're synonymous. A week Wednesday
they're not.
They are.
No, next Wednesday is, again, I want to make sure I've got the right date. Next Wednesday is, okay, so this Wednesday is going to be the 8th. Next Wednesday is going to be the 15th. You're talking about 2 years sober on the 8th.
Yes, tomorrow in the East Coast it'll be tomorrow, but technically 2 days.
Why don't you just say tomorrow?
Well, because it's Tuesday morning right now, so technically tomorrow is Wednesday.
Listen,
I won't argue that one.
Can I ask you, how have you ever been tempted to have a drink?
Yeah, I want to drink right now. Yeah, all the time, all the time. I miss it so much. But
what's your favorite thing that you miss about it? Hold on, let me take a couple of phone calls. Tracy, is this coming? Is the 8th of September next Wednesday or this Wednesday?
Oh, it's this Wednesday for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tracy,
sorry, David. I think the world of you, but Jim's right. It's this Wednesday.
Yeah. Tracy, thank you. Appreciate it.
So the next coming up Wednesday is this Wednesday. It's not next Wednesday.
There's a difference between saying the next Wednesday that happens and next Wednesday.
I guess so. It makes semantic sense what I'm saying. It's just on a colloquial basis on what people say I'll concede that I'm wrong. But what I'm saying makes sense, you know? It is the next coming up. Like, oh, it's the next stop on the subway. Oh, it's this stop? If you're between stops and there's a stop coming up, is it next stop or is it this stop? It's next stop. Jim, there's
no,
a special
but
case.
yeah, it's a difference between saying I have to get off at the next stop. You're not getting off at this stop. You're getting off at the next stop. Versus I'm getting off at I don't know. You're confusing me, but
if you're in transit between stop A and stop B, you're in transit. You're between stop
keep
A.
the example
and stop
about
B.
Wednesday. I think it's better.
No, because it makes sense for other things. You're saying days are a special case, which is fine. I'll concede to that. But this is why I made the mistake. You know, because if you're between stops on a
it's the
subway,
next Wednesday.
Yeah, it's the next coming up.
Okay,
Wednesday.
so it's like tomorrow. Because this is Tuesday, because it's past midnight. Do you need you need a tutorial on that too? Well, it's true. We'll have this is ridiculous. We'll have Natasha Vinnick, who will be joining us from Monday. She's in Monday, and we're in Tuesday. What the hell is going on?
She's joining us this Monday.
This past Monday. That's when she's joining us.
And this will be the last show that I'm ever on.
All right. That's not true.
No,
so
I'm saying because you're upset with me, not because
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed that you don't know about Wednesdays.
Disappointed. You're disappointed.
You don't know about the days of the week is my problem. And
I don't know about this special case. You know, I know about the word next, and I know how it works for most things.
All right. We'll be joined by Natasha Vinnick coming up today. In a moment on the Nighttime Friendly.
Now back to the Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Intentionally not accomplishing anything of any value for 4 hours, but especially this hour with David Cooper. And it's Oops, I Did It Again. Happy to be joined, as always, by Natasha Vinnick in San Francisco, where it is still Monday there, which brings us to David and his craziness.
Natasha, one question for you. If you have a date with a guy and it's a Monday, like it is there right now for you. Today it's Tuesday for us. It's Monday for you. How do time zones work? Nobody knows. If you have a date and he says, I'll go out with you next Wednesday, does that mean the Wednesday in 2 days, or does that mean the Wednesday in 9 days?
It's clearly the Wednesday in 9 days.
Follow-up question.
Without a doubt.
And if he...
Otherwise, language is useless.
Good for you, Natasha.
I'll get to that in a second.
No, Natasha, go harder on him. Go harder.
Well, is
Listen, you dum-dum. Okay. This means the one that's approaching. Next means the subsequent one after the one that's approaching. That has to be the rule. We all have to agree as a society, or we can't use language anymore.
Okay, if a guy was convinced that next meant the one coming up, no matter, like context-free, could you date that man?
Well, I guess we would be showing up on different days.
So we would not. Okay.
And it'd suck for both of us.
Consider the subway stop analogy comparison that Jim and Tony in the control room were not sold on. I hope to convince you. We are going from subway stop. Sorry, there's subway stop A and subway stop B. We are currently between A and B. What is the next stop? Because we're between Wednesdays right now.
The difference is that in subway language, you're not using the word this at all. So it's not, it doesn't even, you can't compare it, okay? For days and weeks, we've been given two words.
Yep.
This and next. And this always means this one thing that's approaching. So next has to mean the subsequent one. Otherwise, what's the point of them?
Your analogy also doesn't work, David, because for your analogy to work, there would have to be, is it this subway stop or the next subway stop? And if you just said the next subway stop, I would get off at the next one. But there has to be the awareness that there's this subway stop and then there's the next subway stop. That's the analogy.
So if you're on Wednesday and you say this Wednesday, that means today or the one in 2 weeks?
I Yeah.
If it's Wednesday and you say this Wednesday, you'd go like, wait, do you mean today? And they'd be like, no, I'm not dumb. I mean the one that's approaching.
Okay, let's take some phone calls, which I don't think I'd ever say before on. What is it? This or next? Is the 8th? Is it this or next? And Rob, why haven't you sent a picture of your nose to Natasha yet? Here's Rob. Rob, go ahead on this this or next Wednesday debate.
It's really simple. If it's Monday or Tuesday, it's Wednesday. If it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it's next Wednesday.
So you're on my side. Finally, somebody.
Monday.
If it's
you just pick a day willy-nilly? When's the dividing line?
The Wednesday. The Wednesday's the dividing line. After the Wednesday.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any. That doesn't make it.
The dividing line is the Monday.
So if you were David, hold on.
Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you say next Wednesday.
Okay, so if you were David talking about when his second anniversary of sobriety is, how would you use that sentence if he was doing that on Monday evening?
I would say, first of all, congratulations. I'm coming up on 3 years sobriety next month.
2.
And one day at a time, and love it.
This year will be 3 years.
Please just answer. Could you? Okay, so what should David have said? Did he say it properly then?
I don't know, you guys.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I thought you called. No, I love Rob. I love you. You're Rob in Thornhill. He's great, but Rob. It doesn't seem. I'm just asking a question. Here's Doug. Doug, are Natasha and myself.
Hi. I listened to your show last Wednesday, the 1st. I'll be listening to your show this Wednesday, the 8th, and I'll probably be listening to your show next Wednesday, the 15th.
This guy's on my side.
Yes.
What do you mean?
No, he's not.
Natasha.
Yes.
He's on my side. He's saying this Wednesday.
No, he's not.
No,
he said
I'm
this
telling
Wednesday
you,
the 8th.
It's simple. Put the date in behind it. There's no confusion. By the way, my cell phone has just repeated the Amber Alert for the 6th time in a row.
Yes, well, that's not our fault. That's a central. Yep. Okay. All right.
My carrier.
All right.
Guys,
thank you, guys. I just want to make sure that people know outside of Toronto, there's an Amber Alert in Toronto, and we were not going to talk about it. I'm not trying to insinuate that people in Vancouver don't care about missing kids. All I'm saying is that the Amber Alert is on the air in Toronto, and everybody cares about missing kids. That's what we wanted to talk about.
We got missing kids in 2 years sobriety, and all we can talk about
2 years sobriety. Good. I'm so happy for you. I thought I'd be, Jesus, up until this point, I thought I'd be happy for you. Now I'm not sure I'm happy for you any longer.
Others to
make
drink.
all of us drink. You're going to make all of us drink, David. All right.
I do want to say, I know we're finishing up this topic that's, really critical. I know that everyone does it differently, and I find that stressful. So I'm the annoying person when someone says, hey, you're going to be on my show next Wednesday. I'm like, do you mean the Wednesday that's approaching or the subsequent one? Like, I use that sentence every time because I can't. People use it wrong, like you, David.
I don't think there's a lot of Davids out there, though.
There are a lot of Davids in that specific way out there.
Okay.
No other ways. Okay, and you think anyone who does it my way is unworthy of life, pretty much.
They just haven't given it enough thought.
Okay.
Because I was going to get you a gift, but now I know I have to. It was not going to be delivered to your house until the 15th, and now I feel awful because it should be there tomorrow.
I say this coming up Wednesday and a week Wednesday to avoid, because I still agree with myself, but no one else does. And so I say a week Wednesday for what you mean to be next Wednesday.
How do you use that in a sentence?
Never before has the gun control argument that's in the news right now in Canada's election made more sense to me, because really, if we continue this for 1 second longer, people
are going to want to blow there. Okay, well, I think we'll pick this up next Wednesday.
Yes, that's what we will.
My God. So, have you dated anyone with these problems before, Natasha? With these clear cognitive mental problems that I have?
Not yours specifically, but some all their own.
Have you ever, David, had shown up for something, or like has that ever been a scheduling issue for you at work or anything?
I usually am pretty clear with dates. I'll say you're booked next Wednesday, July. Like I'll add the day when I book people on things. I don't use next and this because
They're
of the
not
ambiguity.
useful.
Yeah,
sure.
Because there's idiots out there like me who are going to get it wrong, who make semantic sense but not colloquial sense. Okay. I insist that my subway. Okay, I'm done.
You know what I'm really excited about right now? A commercial break. Oh, it's going to be so amazing. Oh man, the news. Oh, all of the fun stories in the news. Oh, it's going to be one of the best.
Excited for this commercial break or next commercial
this
break?
one. Thank you. All right. We really appreciate your time overnight. Don't forget you can find the Showgram on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you find your favorite podcast. You can find the Jim Richards Showgram. Rate, subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe again, and rate again, etc., etc. Hold on. News is next, and the morning show's got you set for everything that you'll need today. That is next. I'm Jim Richards. This is the iHeartRadio Talk Network.